For years of my life, I believed that basically everything was in my control, that my choices and my actions were the sole dictators of the outcome. If something went wrong, it was because I made the wrong decision. If something went right, it was because I made the right one. I genuinely thought life worked that way. But about 2 years ago, there came a time when I thought I had to make one important decision, basically. At least in my head, it was one of those decisions that was going to change everything. I I remember thinking that whatever I choose would completely change the course of my life. Spoiler alert, it did nothing. I was scared of the outcome itself. I chickened out, if you want. I took the easy way out. And because of that, I regretted it for a long time, like really long time. I kept like replaying it in my head over and over and over again. Like, what if I just stood up for myself? What if I had just made the other choice? Would everything be different now? I thought about it for months, years, about 2 years, obviously. And then something hit me. I had spent all of this time stressing about an outcome that I was never fully in control over in the first place. Looking back now, I honestly don't think that one decision would have changed my life nearly as much as I believed it would. Maybe some things would be different. I'm not saying they wouldn't, but I had convinced myself that this one moment was going to decide everything. And that's when I think most of us get it wrong, actually. Most people, and probably even you, believe that every choice is going to lead before you have even made it. Let me explain. You start imagining every possible future, the worst one, the best one, the embarrassing one, the perfect one. You create all of those different versions of reality in your head before reality has even had a chance to begin, if you get what I mean. The funny part is that those imaginary futures start affecting the decision itself. You hesitate, you doubt yourself, you overthink, you don't even act at all sometimes. You are reacting to your imagination, not to reality. And that is the problem that I think is why so many people actually misunderstand Tyler Durden. You know, I'm gonna talk about, Fight Club because the message, even after what, like 27 years, is really relevant to you guys, to me, to all of us as men, as young men. It's a super relevant movie, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time, actually. So I'm gonna talk about it a little bit in this video. People hear him say, just let go, and like they think he's saying stop caring, stop taking consequence for your actions, stop putting in the work, you know. And I don't think that that is what he actually means. The narrator threw away his apartment. He started fights. He rejected comfort, money, status, and basically everything that society tells us we need. And most people think he's like completely insane, or they basically just follow him to the extreme, which, like, I think both of these scenarios are not the complete truth and not the correct path that you should take. There is a third option in my head, a third way to see things. You know, Tower is forcing one question on both the narrator and the audience. You know, how much of your life is actually under your control and how much of it are you pretending to control? One of the most famous lines in Fight Club is, and I am paraphrasing here, it's only after we've lost everything that we're free to do anything. I don't think that's literally about losing your house, your job, your possessions as a whole. I think it's about losing the illusion that you can control every single outcome. Tawaro says you're not your job, you're not how much money you have in the bank, you're not the car you drive, you're not the contents of your wallet, and you're not your fucking khakis. You know, Paraphrasing again. I would take that one step further actually. Like you are not the outcome either. You are your actions. The outcome has too many moving parts. Other people make choices, it's not only you. It's not only you that is making these choices. Life gets in the way basically. Coincidences happen. Things you literally never saw coming happen. They just happen. And you do not get to control all of that. What you do get to control, by the way, is whether you act, whether you tell the truth, whether you stand up for yourself, whether you do the work. And after that, let go. And it's not because nothing matters, you know, not because your choices don't matter, but because believing that you can control everything is draining you. It's exhausting. And maybe that is what Tyler was really talking about here. It's not becoming careless, it's not about giving up, it's not about destroying society as we know it. Or maybe it was like in the movie, but the message here, we're talking about the message, not the movie itself. You know, just letting the ships fall where they may, paraphrasing again. And once I started looking into life like that, I basically realized something. And the thing that has been making me miserable wasn't uncertainty, excuse me. It was my need to control it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that choices do not matter. Of course they matter. If you're lazy, if you don't put in the work, if you never take risks, then yeah, of course your actions have consequences. That's obvious. That's everyone knows that, you know. What I am do saying, what I am saying is that your actions are the only part that is actually yours to control. The outcome is never fully in your control. Think about it. You can study for months and then you can get a question on a test that you just haven't even studied for. This is None of this is in your control. It just happens. It's just life. You can ask someone and they can still say no, even if you're 6'5", rich, charismatic. Uh, and I like this quote. I don't know from where I heard it originally, but I'm gonna, say to you. You can be the prettiest shade of blue in the planet, but it won't matter for someone whose favorite color is green. Sometimes the video you spent literally just 3 hours making can get millions of views without you even expecting it. It's not about the quality of the video even. It's it's just coincidence. That's just how it happens sometimes. That's life. You do not control timing, you don't control luck, you don't control other people, you don't control whether the algorithm decides to push your video to other people. You only control whether you make another one. And I think that's what Tyler was trying to take away from the narrator, not his apartment, not his job. What he was trying to take from him was the illusion of control, the illusion of having control. You know, Throughout the movie, the narrator spends his entire life trying to build the perfect version of himself with buying those things, from buying those furnitures that he didn't even need. His apartment was like full of shit that he didn't even need. And somehow he just kept buying and buying and buying and buying. That is the consumerism mindset, You just keep on buying stuff, even when you don't necessarily need them for your survival and for your mental health. Like, you don't even use them sometimes. You just buy them and they sit there. And I am even sure that you have done that, in your life at least once. Control wasn't solving the problem, having control. It was becoming the problem with him and with me, basically. Now, obviously, don't take all of the life advice from Tyler Durden. He's an extremist, and you have to think for yourself before doing something, from the movie. But this is a movie. It's over exaggerated, but I'll stop yapping about Tyler for a second here, and I'll talk about the message itself again. Maybe it's because all of us are trying to hold on to something, a relationship, success, money, reputations, plans, future, and maybe, just maybe, life gets a little lighter when you stop squeezing so hard. You know, there is another quote from Fight Club that I want to talk about. Paraphrasing, you have to know, not fear, know that someday you're going to die. And this is not a depressive quote at all. It's just a reminder. Think of it as a reminder that one day, every embarrassing moment you are still thinking about, every mistake, every opportunity you missed, every outcome you basically obsessed over. And none of that will matter after you leave this planet, after you die. So act anyway. Take the risk anyway. Say what you mean anyway. Because at the end of the day, that is all you ever really had control over. Your actions, not the result. Just the choice to show up. And then and only then, let the chips fall where they may. Only then let go. And this is a quick yap that I wanted to make a video on, kind of combine a message from Fight Club with my own life, my own experience. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching.